Welcome back to Fantasy Football Nation. I am your host, Nino Brown. I got my guy. He's not missing no more. Mr. Milkbox, he's here. We were off for the last 2 weeks. We had sick family members and just life happens. And things just doesn't align. Work doesn't allow us to have all the time in the world to get our things done. As you can see, we're missing a member today. You know, the leader of the crew, our guy Boomer. He's trying to figure out a new work schedule. He's working them nights. So shout out to our guy Boomer. I think he's fixing a leak right now. So
it wouldn't be anything to do with the Michigan leak or anything.
Oh, shots fired! My guy fired up. Milkbox. How we doing today, buddy? You seem like you're ready to go. You're 2 pounds lighter in the face.
Yeah, you know, I was gonna go with some Halloween creativity and didn't quite work out. So I mean, I look young enough. I don't think I need to look like a teenager. So we got to keep a little facial hair there. So
you look like you could be like in college still right now, you know?
Yeah. It's a different atmosphere. I went down to that, you know, with the busing with the boys down in Lincoln here a few weeks ago and hanging out in that area. It was like, yeah, I don't really fit in here. I'm cool. I'm cool not having to come down here. I need to go to the older adult bar section.
Yeah, it's a little wild, you know. Sometimes you just need that little extra space, you know.
Right.
So we're down a guy. Normally we bring you, 3 guys apiece, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna double it up. We're gonna give you 6 hot from each of us, 6 not from each of us. Make up for our guy Boom out there fixing that hydraulic leak. So I'm gonna let my guy Milkbox. You give me three hot, and then I'll go 3 hot, and we'll go back and forth.
All right, cool. Well, you know, I'm going to start off with a guy I really liked. I know I was high on him a little bit last year because the year before he did pretty good. Kenny Moore II, 23% owned, 56 fantasy points. You kidding me? 2 pick six and 115 yards. Like you're running back to get those kind of stats. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like 7, and you add 7 solos and assists and 2 pass pickups. Like you can't ask for any more from the slot corner guy.
No.
He was just all over the place, and it showed.
Oh, the announcer was ready to lose his stuff. Are you kidding me? This is going to be a second pick 6. He was going nuts. It was great, but yeah, he was in his bag, man.
Yeah, and then I mean, we got Old Faithful. I gotta give him props. You know, Jared's always talking about him. Old Mad Max, 60% owned, 41 fantasy points, 6 solos, 2 assists, 3 sacks, 3 tackle for loss, 100% snap count. The guy he's the best one out there. And I'm actually a little shocked he's only 60% owned. Like he should be high 80s, 90s.
100%.
Like it's crazy to me sometimes, but this is based off of Yahoo on some of the stuff that I get. So another guy, I mean, kind of came out of nowhere, finally getting maybe a little bit healthy.
No.
Joey Bosa, 10% owned, 31 fantasy points, 3 solos, 3 assists, 2.5 sacks, a forced fumble, a fumble recovery, and a tackle for loss, with only a 57% snap count. So I mean that's pretty great. I know between him, Thule, and Khalil Mack, like all 3 of those guys did pretty dang good for themselves. So
they were playing the Jets.
Well, you know, hey,
and I understand there's going to be 17 teams that play the Jets, so I understand that.
Right. So I mean, we got the Jets, we got the Giants. There's like 4, like the quarterback injuries this season is ridiculous.
Yeah, it's everywhere. The injuries are piling up all over the place, but I don't know if Joey Bosa found the fountain of youth water. I'm going to go more so I think he just found a good team in a hot moment, right? And he had a game. I would be shocked if he puts another one of those games anywhere near that for the rest of the year.
Right. Well, I mean, do they play Denver again? I mean, they could have a shot against Russell Wilson.
Yeah, it's possible. They play Denver. Yeah, they have to, right? They played him once already, so they're going to play him twice. So we'll see. But there's too many off days for Joey Bosa nowadays.
Right.
But yeah, I love it. Max Crosby, bro. Like, dude, I don't know if anybody caught it. I know everybody heard the stories of the smoking cigars and everything after the thing. But there was a Raiders video, and it showed Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and Max Crosby. And let's just say all three of those gentlemen were happy as a clam that Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo were no longer part of that team.
Yeah. It is so crazy that Josh McDaniels wasn't a better coach. I'm a little surprised, I guess. I mean, you read the shirt tails of Bill Belichick, you think you're going to learn something, but you can't force what Bill Belichick's forcing if that's not you. You know what I mean? It seems like maybe he wasn't being himself. Thought he would have learned that from Denver and tried something new. I don't know.
Do you watch movies and expect the ending to be different?
I mean, The Departed, it got me. That was a good movie.
But when you watched it the second time, did you think it was going to be different? We've seen this story, right? And then there's a reason why he left Indianapolis on Tomax, bro.
Yeah.
He knows he's not that good. He went to the Raiders for the money. Everything to a T is almost exactly the same. The amount of days he spent with the teams, I think he got 3 more weeks with Denver, right? But
right.
The record at the point, everything, it was so eerily similar. You can't watch the movie and think the ending is going to change. It doesn't. I don't think he's ever going to get another option, chance
probably
to be a coach again. But no. I mean, they don't respect. And he's hot-headed. It's the same reason why I think he was kind of forced his way out of New England. Him and Bill were all right, bro, your ego's getting a little bit too big, but there's only room for one ego here. I let the big ego go already. You think your ego's gonna stay? Nah, buddy, sorry. All right, I'm gonna dive in. Now, you had some big names, and they were well deserving. I went a little bit down a rabbit hole here. One of these guys I talked about last year, and I remember my guy Boomer saying, I don't know. I think he's just a filler. I don't think that this guy's going to have any longevity with the Seattle Seahawks. But I'm going to go with Boy Mafi, okay? 20.3 fantasy points. I'm talking 6 straight weeks. My guy's recorded a sack. 6, right? 6 tackles, 5 solo. He had a sack, a forced fumble, and recovery. And he's doing it on less than 60% snap share all year. A sack for 6 straight weeks. You got to stop watching this guy. It's not a fluke anymore. My man is just doing his thing and taking care of business. So go get your boy Mafi. I think he's a guy. Now, another gentleman that's flying under the radar. I had him on here once or twice already this year. Byron Young, okay, rookie, Los Angeles Rams, defensive lineman, 28 fantasy points. Last 4 weeks, he's been in above 70% snap share. Okay, he had 85 this week, 10 tackles, 8 solo, 2 sacks, 4 run stops, and a tackle for loss. This kid solidified his position. It's his spot. Ain't nobody taking it from him. And he looks like he's going to be the future of that line. We don't know how long, Aaron Donald's going to be there. They got a couple of other pieces that, I don't see longevity. I think Byron Young is going to be there well past that first rookie deal. I'm going to give you a guy in the secondary. Byron Murphy Jr. Okay, DB out of the Vikings. 15 fantasy points. He had 3 tackles, all of them solo, right? He had a tackle for loss, 2 pass breakups, and a pick. He was kind of, if you look at his percentage breakdown of where he played, he was all over the place. He had 10% in the box. He had, I think it was 15% in the slot, and then the rest of the free set. He's been all over the place. He's actually been really good for them the last couple of weeks, kind of turned it on for them, filling a role due to injury and then getting his time. So what are your thoughts on those 3 guys?
Mafi is kind of a surprise. I've always been kind of a fan. I kind of thought that Noe Saw, E-Chain.
He got the bag and went to sleep.
Yeah, would have maybe been more of the guy that, people that are going to, as far as name recognition goes, you're going to pay attention to. And then, Byron Young, that guy's been great. Like you said, Aaron Donald, it's kind of crazy. He hasn't been Aaron Donald. It don't seem like,
no.
I know he gets double teamed, but he's usually able to break through that. And then Byron Murphy is, he used to be with the Cardinals, I believe. And
I don't know if it's Cardinals, but he was
Cardinals or Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
One of them two. And I guess I just didn't really think he was that good as a player wise, but fantasy wise, it seemed like he was really decent because they targeted him all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at least he's doing enough to get on the field, and he seems like he's taking advantage of that. So that's been great to see.
Yeah, he's an ex-Cardinal, and everybody who's been the Cardinals in the past 5 years seems to either not been used the right way and pushed out the door. So
That's amazing. That doesn't even make sense with some of the players and the talent level and the misusage. I mean, but you got Sean Taylor up here on the board. Like, that guy was an animal all over the place.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason why there's certain
players that can't. Yeah.
Can't live up to that, I guess.
We got one on a squatty potty that I think we're starting to see why the Cardinals got rid of him. All right, give me the next 3 guys on the fire squad.
Well, going back to the Chargers, I mean, I was high on him as far as a rookie, Tuiapoto.
Yeah,
I think is how you pronounce it. Might have butchered that a little bit. Hardly even owned in any leagues. 26 fantasy points, 3 solo, 2 assists, 2 sacks, and 2 tackle for loss. And he's only had a 62% snap count. So, I mean, he had a little bit more in Bosa, and he played just as good. So I seen they had him kind of all over the place too. I seen him kind of coming up the middle from the linebacker position and everything. It was kind of interesting to see how they used him. So that was kind of exciting to see. I know a guy I was kind of higher on than most at the beginning of the year. I can finally put him on the list. I think he's been on the potty squatty maybe a couple times, but Grant Delpit, I figured, you know what? Now is better than any. 9% owned, 24 fantasy points, 8 solos, 2 assists, got you a half a sack and a tackle for loss. And that was on an 83% snap count. So that Cleveland team, I mean, Myles Garrett, everybody's going to want to get. It should be expected, but it seems like the rest of that defense is kind of trash. You never know, hit and miss. You never know who you're going to get there.
Trash in fantasy, not trash in real life, because they have a really good defense in real life. But fantasy-wise, anything outside of,
right,
the guys up front, Garrett and is it Collins? I believe it is. Xavier Collins. Is it Collins?
Yeah.
Who's the guy they got from Minnesota?
Oh,
Xavier. It's Collins, right?
Zaire Smith. No.
Yes.
Zaire. Is it Zaire Smith?
No, I want to say it's. I thought it was Xavier Collins. I thought that's who they got from Minnesota. He's a DN.
Yeah, DN. I'm pretty sure last name was Smith. Not Zaire.
No, Harrison Smith's still there. We'll figure it out by the end.
Anyway,
but hit me with your last. Speaking of the guy again, hit me with your last.
Yeah. Here's a guy dropped after week 1. Kind of regretting it a little bit, but I get so irritated with some of these veterans if they don't do what they're supposed to do. But that's Jordan Hicks, 61% owned, got you 35 fantasy points, 9 solos, 2 assists, a sack, 1 pass breakup, and 2 TFLs, 100% snap count. This is kind of like I was talking earlier in the green room. Sometimes I might let somebody else's decision persuade me a little bit. When you start talking the rookies and Ivan Pace Jr. and Brian Amaso, maybe being able to take some guys over, ain't on the show to defend him and let me know why. I kind of maybe thought maybe, but this is the same guy I sold and bought Jack Sanborn. And I kind of fell in that hole. I get it. I should have been smarter. That's all right. We're gonna let that happen again. And then another. Oh no, that wraps it up.
You're the next guy. The next guy's in the toilet.
That'll be another.
I've been talking about Hicks for a couple weeks, and you were like, I don't know. Did he score in this game? I'm pretty sure he had a touchdown in this game.
No, I don't think.
Maybe that was last week. It might have been back-to-back weeks that he's kind of balled out here with like 30-plus points.
Yeah, he's definitely been holding.
He's the only guy out there. Asamoah has got less than 20% snaps in the past 3 games. Ivan Pace, since week 3, has been absolutely terrible. I love Ivan Pace, but he has been terrible. Their linebackers outside of Hicks might be worse than the Cleveland Browns linebacking core. It's that bad for fantasy wise, anyway.
Right.
your boy dealt it. You got to give it to him. He had a game, and you got to put him on there when you can. So you got to big up your guys. All right, I got 3 more, and then we'll get into this squatty potty squizzard.
Yeah, it was Zadarius Smith.
Yeah, see? All right, it's Darius Smith. All right, I thought it was Collins for some reason. Yeah, Smith. Him, one on each end, like him and Garrett together is a dangerous combination. But anything outside of the up front, stay away. I'm gonna go with a guy we talked about. Kind of just took over this linebacker room for the Texans. The Texans cashed in on Cashman. That's what we said a couple weeks ago, and this dude's just been doing it. 16.3 fantasy points. He had 10 tackles. 5 solo, 2 tackles for loss, 6 run stops. We're now looking at he's the guy because it's 4 straight weeks of 85% or more snap share. So he's the LB1 for them, and they seem to be fine with riding him out, and he's performing every week since they gave him most of that snap share. So I like Cashman there. The Saints had a guy go off. Paulson had a Dabo, okay? 31.5 fantasy points. He had 2 picks, 3 breakups. He forced the fumble, recovered it, 7 tackles, 5 solo. This guy pretty much checked almost every single box that you could have checked for defensive stats and fantasy. He was just everywhere and just it was a ball hawk, and he dominated defensively for them. My last guy, Cowboys linebacker, Damone Clark. 16.8 fantasy points, 11 tackles, 8 solo, tackle for loss, 3 run stops. It seems as though Damone Clark has kind of emerged as a leader in that linebacker room these last couple of weeks. What's the last 3 or 4 weeks? Maybe this last month. It seems like he's the guy. I know Van Der Esch is like the green dot dude, but it seems as like Damone Clark is kind of filled in the Robin to Van Der Esch's Batman. What are your thoughts on those 3 guys?
Yeah, I mean, as far as the linebackers go with the Dallas, it's utilization and how Dan Quinn moves those guys around and everything. And I kind of thought there would be, or I was hoping maybe a few different linebackers just because I was a little bit bigger of a fan outside of NFL relationships. But he's good at picking guys. You know, he had Kuan O'Neal. He had a linebacker that was a safety at one point in time.
Right.
And Clark has definitely taken over and been able to capture the moment there. Paulson, the DB from New Orleans, man, when he's getting targeted so much,
yeah,
that's gold, especially if you're in a cornerback only type of league as well. That you really like to have those type of guys. And then, yeah, we both agree, Blake Cashman. Yeah, I was high. I thought maybe it would be Christian Harrison, and that just fell on my face. So I definitely took the reins and jumped on that Blake Cashman. Being from Minnesota, you know,
Boomer was mailing his ballot for Rookie of the Year for Toto, right? Like he was putting him on a pedestal, and he's kind of fizzled out too. I was never a fan of him at Alabama. Granted, the head coach played his position.
Well,
he's
right,
an Alabama vet, and I get it. So he's probably going to work him back into it, but he's also not stupid, and he knows what works. And if it's not broke, you don't fix it. So
right. Yeah,
is Cashman this year's Sanborn? Maybe. Very well could be, right?
I think he'll have more points than he did.
Well,
you've already started more games.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, he got more starts. I'm saying as a guy come out of nowhere,
right?
That, you weren't really expecting. So,
well, you better be getting him on your team. If you're starting anywhere from like 3 to 4 linebackers, he's almost a must start. I think.
I'm with you 100%. Or if you have like 2 linebackers in just a flex IDP position, he's got to be in that flex every single week. We just gave you a dozen guys that we thought performed well this week. Maybe guys that you might want to look out for in your waiver wires if they're available. I know a couple of my guys are under that 25% owned threshold. So just be aware. Not everyone's going to perform again. Don't think that Joey Bosa is going to go out there and run the gauntlet.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean? But there are people like in our league with Jarod that have been waiting. I got rid of Bosa last year. I've got offered Bosa to me about 77 times. I don't want him, not even after this big week. So just don't fall in that trap. All right, Milkbox, give me 3 guys off the rip that were just terrible.
All right. Well, unfortunately, I'm going to pick on the Bengals a little bit.
Oh boy.
Both defensive end guys that you thought would be a great dynamic duo. Sam Hubbard at 25% owned, Trey Hendrickson at 18% owned. I personally, if I'm choosing one of them guys, I want Hendrickson over Hubbard.
Yes.
One gets you 0 points in Hubbard. The other one gets you 2 with one solo. Hubbard gets you 69 snap per count. Hendrickson gets you 84% snap count. So that was not a very good day for them.
What were they doing? They bookends, dude? Like, what are you doing all game to not get any pressures or anything like that? You just sit at the end of the line waving at each other? Like, I don't understand.
Right. And I mean, I know I get it. They're going against Josh Allen and everything, and he's a mobile quarterback, but golly, you guys got to set that edge. So.
And they run the ball. They run the ball in Buffalo. Like, at some point, you got to just fall on a tackle, right? Fall on a tackle for loss at some point. Like, what the heck?
Yeah. And then I don't know. I kind of pick on this, or well, no, I guess I said Cincinnati, so I'll stick with the theme here. Logan Wilson, who's 83% owned, 12 fantasy points might seem like a pretty good deal at 4 solos and 4 assists and 100% snaps count. But for guys that you're drafting and they're higher than 70% owned, if they ain't scoring you at least minimum 20 points, if not more, mid 20s, as far as fantasy points, like that's disappointing. That's disappointing.
I agree.
That makes you from high score for the week to losing out on some money for some weekly winnings. So
you say 20. I'm cool with 15, but you got to at least 15? Hit the 15 point.
No,
you got to at least hit the 15 point.
No, what wasn't preseason Logan Wilson like a top 10 linebacker?
Yeah, he's probably at 10.
Yeah, I mean, your top 10 guys got to get you in the mid 20s. Like
every week?
Oh, pretty consistently. I mean, you might drop down to an 18, but I want above 15 even. Like, I think 18 is my cutoff to feel like, okay, that's okay. I'll give you that one because you got me 26 the week before.
All right.
That's for me. I mean, I guess
I'm not.
I got high standards.
I'm not as strict on it. I just figure you give me 15 across the board. I'm cool. But yeah. Those are definitely some poop turd worthy performances right there from them gentlemen. I will say one of the guys you're about to talk about did get a concussion, so you got to factor that in. With Mr. Agent Zero. So that was why his numbers were a little low.
I tried to double check on some of that stuff. I must have missed that. So
we'll get back to him in a second. I'm going to give you 3 guys here. I'm going to lead off with a guy that we were talking about earlier in the show, ex-Cardinal. We all 3 of us had high hopes on this gentleman, figuring he was going to a place who the linebacker room was wide open. Everybody stinks over there, right in the linebacker room. They couldn't figure it out. Michael McFadden has emerged. He's the guy. They traded a piece of paper to get Isaiah Simmons. They probably would want that piece of paper back because they might be able to use that for something better. Write him a letter to tell him he stinks. But it's been 7+ weeks, and Simmons has only gotten 1 game with above 35% snap share. And that was 100% snap share. And in that game, he had 9 tackles. And he hasn't done a damn thing since that game or anywhere remote close to it. He had 4 tackles, 2 solo tackles on 20% snap share. He got 3 fantasy points. I'm off. I'm off the train. I'm done. I don't care where he goes to. I don't care if he lands in Baltimore. I'm out of it. Like I don't know if he's cashed out. I don't know if it's been multiple years of being in a bad organization and now his mindset's not right. But that ain't what I saw coming out of college. That ain't what I saw the first year in Arizona. The fact that you are struggling, you are on the bus with the front seat on the side of the driver in a team's defense that stinks and has so many open positions at the linebacker position outside of Micah, you should be getting that 15 threshold every single gosh darn week, and you're not even like a top dude. You're struggling to get 3. So I'm out. I'm done. I love this guy last year. I must have talked about him maybe 4 or 5 times. At first, Boomer ripped me up. He's like, he's the wrong guy. The other guy's on the other side of the line. I'm like, I don't know, man. He's having back-to-back games. He's stacking them. He's stacked a lot of stinkers this year. The team in general has stacked a lot of stinkers. That's Kwity Paye, defensive lineman for the Colts. 4.3 fantasy points. He had a QB hit, his only pressure. He had one run stop. You're on the line, bro. They've run by you all game. On 3 total tackles, none of them was solo. And he had a 33.3% missed tackle rate. Like, you're on the line, you stick an arm out there, you fall down on a guy. Like, you shouldn't, like, you shouldn't really have a missed tackle rate at all. Like, I don't think defensive linemen should be anywhere near a 35% missed tackle rate at all. Like, you guys, like, are right there. You're made to bring it down and set the edge. You shouldn't be having any type of missed tackle rate games at all. Next guy. He's been having a year. And I thought about giving him a pass. There ain't no passes here on the Head IDP podcast. Dax Hill. You want to bring up Bengals? I'm going to hit you with another one. All right? 3 fantasy points. You had 2 tackles. Both of them are solo. Cool. You had a pass breakup. Cool. But they put you all over the field. They don't just let you play in coverage. They line you up in the line. They put you in a box. They put you in a slot. You couldn't muster a single pressure at all game. Like, come on, man. It wasn't like they didn't target you in pass game. So you weren't getting targeted at all. What were you doing that was so important that you couldn't put numbers on a stat sheet? I need to see. Were you counting the blades of grass in that game? Were you trying to read the person that shirt at the front line of the row at the 50-yard line? I don't understand it, but you, my friend, need to go back to what you've been doing for the past 3 or 4 weeks. Give me 3 more of yours, and what do you think about the 3 guys I just mentioned?
Well, I mean, when it comes to Isaiah Simmons, I mean, he even had the double tag, the DBLB, which is kind of always a nice little incentive to get a guy like that.
That's something.
I know I got suckered into it.
Oh, I got suckered in too, buddy.
And it really irritates me because I probably drafted him 2 or 3 rounds ahead of where I should have, just so I could have that double tag and flexibility. Kwity Paye, that's man, wasn't him, Derek Brown and Kinlaw all in the same draft?
Yep.
Yeah.
2 of those guys are on my list.
Yeah, those I would have been really waiting to see if there was any sort of like Aaron Donald type out of any of those guys, and it's been kind of disappointing a little bit. I know DeForest Buckner did kind of go off a little bit yesterday, but Paye, that one's tough. And then Dax Hill, I was just gonna be looking because I had it between Dax Hill and another guy for my bye week, and I went with Hill because I got him in another league. And I wish I would have pivoted and went somewhere else because that was disdisappointing. But that's only 1 week. He has been pretty consistent besides this week. So
we don't have no weeks off. If you're going to be a dude, if you want to be a stud, then you better be a stud every goddamn week and not just take them off. All right?
Right. No, I got you. You.
Yep. So round us out with your last 3 here.
All right. Yep. To round us out, we'll start with Chris Jones. Defensive tackle there for Kansas City. Yeah, 23% owned, which, is crazy. 1 fantasy point with 1 assist on 84% snap count. For a guy, him and Donald were dominating last year, and you just haven't heard from those 2 guys at all.
Nope.
It's been very disappointing. And then, Brian Burns I do have on here. Also at 23% owned, 2 solos, 2 assists, and a tackle for loss for 9 fantasy points. But he did have a concussion, but he still had 75% of the snaps.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you should still be. I mean, usually he's good for a sack a game.
Yeah.
Or maybe even a couple more of those TFLs. As high, everybody's been kind of high on him. I just always been kind of on the fence, but at the same time, I was always going for Yos Cross Matos, and that hasn't quite worked out either. So evidently, I can't pick the Carolina DNs very well. And then the big shot, the big move, Roquan Smith, 96% owned, 3 solos, 2 assists, 8 fantasy points. Now, if I'm upset about Logan Wilson getting
Oh,
12,
you're ready to light the
I'm
house on fire.
infuriated
Yeah.
about this with just 8 fantasy points. Are you kidding me? You leave Chicago and you go to Baltimore. That's supposed to be, gravy for you. Being stud plays all over the place, and he just hasn't really performed up to his standard. I don't believe so.
He's had a lot of good weeks, but
he's had his fair share of below 10 points, because I put him on here a couple of times, and that's just intentional, just to rib at some people on the show once in a while.
I understand, my friend. I get it.
Because I know every time if I see a player that's in one of my other leagues, I'm like, I gotta mention that because I got that guy too. So it comes around, goes around. So I just.
And we're never always right. Right, you can't be always
right. Yeah.
So
we're kind of like the weather, we can be right one week and wrong another,
And
come back to the show and keep listening.
Two things can be right. Like, you can be good and just have a shitty week. So like, two things can be relevant. I don't know what in God's name is going on with Chris Jones. He had that first week when he came back, right after the.
You're right, yeah, because he held out for so long.
Yeah, at first he was great. Like, I was like, okay, right, they're gonna.
Me too.
And I remember seeing like a flash of that since that first week. So I don't know what's going on there. Brian Burns, 75% snap share. Yes, it was in the fourth quarter. Like, I think it was like 7 minutes left where he caught the concussion, didn't come back in. But that's not an excuse. That is something people. They play Thursday. I don't think he's going to play.
Yeah. I was going to say, I think I read that little note that he might not play.
So just if you have him in your leagues, you bench him this week. He's probably not a go. Let me round out the poop squad here. Gonna stay in the same group. Derek Brown, 6 fantasy points. You had a pass breakup, 4 tackles, 2 of them were solo. You managed 2 pressures. One of them was a QB hit. I need more. I was high on you coming into this year. I pounded the table for 3 weeks with you guys in the off season, and then in the beginning of the year, he started out pretty good. I hate using team that's just kind of flipped upside down as an excuse for not performing, but Carolina's a mess.
There's still incentives for them players to go out and ball, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. You get those extra bonuses, and you're getting paid every week, and it is what is a job that you got to do. But when your quarterback is 3 and out, and you're on the field, for 60 to 70% of the game, you kind of get a little tired, and you kind of get tired of the same rigmarole. You know what I mean? Like I said, you watch this movie expecting a different ending, and you're going to get disappointed here.
Hey, I seen it with Scott Frost, being with the Huskers and trying to run that
still
scheme.
Hurts.
It's just unfortunate.
Yeah. A guy you want to talk about, a guy that if you're not putting up that 20 burger, I'm pissed off. Okay.
Oh yeah.
He's owned in like 83% of leagues. Quincy Williams, linebacker for the Jets. He dropped a 6.3 burger for most people's fantasy teams. If I had him and woke up after last night, and that's what I got thinking, like I needed him to have a game, make me get that locked in win, and he dropped that and I lost, I'd be putting him on a trade block. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. 3 tackles, 2 solo, and a tackle for loss. 40% missed tackle rate. 40. A couple of those, and now I'm turning 6 into 15, 18. Like, come on, man. You got paid one job, my guy, and you couldn't perform in that job. Another guy had 1 job, and the guy in front of him obviously didn't want to do his job, so he thought, I don't have to do my job. Kyle Hamilton for the Ravens, the safety, he had 5.3 fantasy points, 3 tackles, 2 solo, and a pass breakup. Didn't even sniff a pressure. Going and sniff the backfield. He wasn't his day. Apparently it wasn't Roquan's day or Travis Jones's day, or a couple of the offense had a day, but their defense didn't really do anything much fantasy-wise. Let's keep it at that.
Right.
They got the dub, and that's what matters, but the big dogs didn't eat. And when it comes to, fantasy football, especially IDP, I need the big dogs eating. So what are your thoughts on those 3 guys before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I mean, Kyle Hampton, you thought he'd be kind of a dog, a little Antoine Winfield-esque a little bit,
Right.
He's always roaming and he comes up to the line of scrimmage. Definitely want more out of him. But at the same time, you always thought with Roquan being there that maybe he wouldn't be able to feast as much. But Roquan didn't feast at all, so maybe you thought Hamilton was gonna, and with both of them not, that's just disheartening and sucks all the way around.
Who's been kind of feasting all year, and I hate to do it to him because he's not here to defend himself, but Patrick Queen seems to be eating a whole freaking year. Even on the games where Roquan seems to be going ghost, Queen's been putting up numbers. So, Boomer, I think you were off on Asamoah and on Queen this year, but you hit enough, so we'll give you the pass.
Yeah, and then I kind of agree with you too with Derek Brown. Like I mentioned earlier, Derek Brown, Kwity Paye, and then Javon Kinlaw. I had Kinlaw in a couple other leagues, dynasty wise, and kind of was expecting more out of those guys, and they just haven't really found their groove or don't have enough, other talent around them to help them. It's just disheartening. And then, the Quincy Williams, I absolutely agree because I have him on my team.
Oh boy,
and he has been a baller. And like I said, that goes along the lines of Roquan Smith. You ain't getting me almost 30 points, and you're that kind of a stud. I'm a little pissed.
I'm sending you. You're on the block that next morning, bro. Screw you.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go real quick off chalk. Keep trade cut.
Oh no.
Kwity Paye, Derek Brown, Kinlaw. I know where I'm going. I'll tell you straight up, I'm cutting the shit out of Kinlaw. He's trash.
Yeah,
he's trash.
Yeah, definitely cutting him. I think I keep Kwity Paye, and then I'd probably trade Derek Brown.
I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna keep Brown, and I'm gonna trade Kwity Paye, only for the simple fact that I think they believe in Brown because they just gave him a contract and gave him a 2-year extension and gave him some substantial money. And they're trying to trade Brian Burns. So when he's gone, there's only one man left to eat. You're putting my man at the buffet table. I'm gonna put a little bit more stock in Brown and as far as Paye, but I like Paye. I would trade Paye for extra. You know what I mean? You gotta get all my money back on him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who's before we close it out? Give me one bye-week banger for the people. One guy you're trying to target that you think he's gonna be a guy that's gonna dominate this week.
Well, I was just kind of taking a little peek of that, and I'm gonna go with one of your boys. I think he's been on both lists. Kyle Duggar.
Okay.
I mean, they got matchup against Indianapolis. They've been struggling. Hopefully he comes up, plays in the box. Maybe he picks off one of those crossing routes. So I'm kind of was eyeballing him actually.
I'm gonna go with the guy out of Washington that survived all of the trade. He's not on the line. He's in the secondary. No, his name is not Cameron Curl. His name is Benjamin.
Oh, Juice.
Yeah, St. Juice.
Yeah. That was the other guy.
Nobody wants to talk about this guy. Nobody gives him any credit. He leads. I think he's top 10 in coverage. PFF wise, he's got like 6 or 7 pass breakups. He's just been all over the place. He lines up in the box. They put him in the slot. He's a dude.
He's got 13.
13. Okay, yeah. So the guy lives around the ball. All right, lives around the ball.
Well, he gets targeted a lot, so yeah.
And he's pretty good. Even if they do catch the ball on him, everything's in front of him. Like if you look at his yak,
he's got a long wingspan.
Yeah, his yak is minimal. So like, you're talking about a guy on in the secondary that's not named Curl. I'm taking St. Juice over Emmanuel Forbes every single Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, so but yeah, he's a guy that's out there. I think he's alone in less than like 20-something% of leagues. So yeah. I would, if you are in a pickle with a DB safeties position, give me St. Juice.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. This has been great. Maybe next week we'll have the leader come back in here and lead us down another week of a wonderful world of the head-to-head. IDP Podcast. We appreciate you all. And until next time, let's go.